Hey there, folks. So, last episode we wrapped up getting the inventory component of the UI working. Um, got it so you can drop items from your inventory, pick them up again, eat them if you need to, use them in general, actually. Um, Prior to that, we got the fire or a radiant heat source up and working. And this episode, I wanted to continue with the uh, temperature system work. What I wanted to work on today was going to be a shelter, sort of like a place that your character can go in. The weather's not going to have as much of an effect. Temperature's not going to have as much as an effect. Things like that. Protection from the elements is what it's commonly called. So now to go into that, there's a couple of things I want to start with. The first one, though, we are going to create our base class for that. We're going to go into our C++ project public base classes. Now, the building itself doesn't need to be saved. It's a physical structure. Now, this isn't player crafted or player built structures. These are like pre builds in the world. So, in here, we're going to right click new C++ class. We're going to derive it from actor because we don't need to save anything. And that's what TF actor has, is it's got our save game logic already applied. And in this case, it's going to be TF building base. We're going to let that create. Now, a couple of things to consider with this, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to ignore this for now because there's some more I want to create. But there is, obviously, there's what I'm going to call portals or openings in your structures, doors, windows, holes in the wall, things like that. What I want to do is I want to have those affect certain aspects of the level of protection that is offered by a building. Now, we already have, let me get back into the editor here. We already have our door. However, the way I've set this up is that's an interior door. You could go, and if you want to put that level of effort in, you could, where you could go, okay, each room individually is an interior space, and then the building is apparent and it calculates like, oh, if you can come through the west window and it'll blow all the way through to a room on the east side, things like that if you want. Or you could do, which is what I'm going to do, it's the building has its external portals, be it external doors or windows, and those are the only things that are going to affect the inside. And the reason being for that, and I understand this varies from place to place around the world, where I live, most buildings, there's like no insulation, no protection like in interior walls. Obviously, there's some because you have a wall there, but they're hollow plasterboard walls or drywall, sheetrock, whatever you want to call them, on the inside, and it's your exterior facing areas that have the extensive insulation. And that's the sort of approach I'm wanting to go for. So, with that, there is one other C++ class we want to create. This one, we want it to derive from TF actor. This is going to be for our exterior wall doors, exterior windows, and we need a save interface on those because we want to save, are they open or closed? So I'm going to right click on our TF actor, create a C++ derived from that, and I'm going to call this TF exterior, building opening. So we're going to click create on that. Now this time around when it asks to reload, I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to leave that open. hop into the editor just to let it finish its stuff, and then I'll close out of the editor and reload Visual Studio. So with this though, there is obviously a parent-child situation we need to consider here. The building itself is going to be the parent, and the exterior openings are going to be the child or children. So I'm going to close out of this and wait for this to stop and reload. All right, so we have in here our building opening and our building base. So we're going to start with our building base. It is going to have a couple of components here. So U property, U static mesh component, primary building mesh, oh, IntelliSense Y are you being a pain in my butt. And oh, sorry, I need to private move you up here. This is going to be edit defaults only, blueprint read only, meta equals allow private, access equals true. And that is quite literally what you think it is. It is the primary structure of the building. Actually, no, I was sorry. I was just sitting there thinking. We don't need to worry about that. So I'm going to very loosely cover this now, but I will also go into more detail. Probably it's going to be in the next episode where we actually make use of this. It doesn't need primary. So one thing we're going to do is have a interior volume. You could go and use a cube for that if it's a cube building. It could be whatever, but because most buildings aren't directly cuboidal, like six-sided or six-sided cubes, they don't use a primitive to map their interior volume entirely. You're going to need a custom shape, so that's what this is for. And then what are we going to want here? It's T array class ATF building opening. And this is going to be, as I was mentioning, all of the child actors that are your doors and windows. Exterior openings. Openings. And we're going to U property visible anywhere, blueprint read only, meta equals allow private, access equals true. Now what this is this is going to be, for the purpose of the code that we're going to write, all of the doors and windows and things like that that we're going to be leveraging. Oh, and that should be a pointer, which is what it's telling me there. No. There we go. So we could go through and try to write this in a way that you manually have to assign these. But I don't want to do that. I want to do it programmatically. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to grab randomized actor quick because it's in there. We're going to use our on construction here. Building base. There we go. And that is protected. I'm going to throw that down here. make sure to include that after my fiasco from last time. Also, actually, just quickly, we don't need this to tick. So we're going to set can never tick to false. I'm going to delete the tick, definition, and the declaration. And I'm going to move these around so they are in my preferred order. So, on construction, what we're wanting to do, was it children. An array of all actors whose owner is this actor. These are not necessarily spawned by eChild actor component. So what we want to do here is for auto C children. We're actually going to need to include that header here. And I'm just going to do it the easy way. Equals cast C. If is a valid child exterior openings dot add child. Now, this is something you need to be very careful of. I've made this mistake before. This executes every time you relocate the actor. Like you drag it around in the world, this is going to execute, and this is going to fire off every time. You're going to end up, as this code is written, you're going to end up with basically a almost infinite number of entries in your exterior openings. What you're going to want to do is right here at the start, before you do that, is clear everything out. So just empty it out. So what this code is doing is basically whenever you're moving it around in the world, it's checking to see how many exterior openings, so that's doors and windows, that it has as a child. So think of this as a blueprint. And you've got your structure. This is the root component. You've got all those components underneath. So action root component, not children. Get attached children. No, not get. Can. That's the one. Sorry, I was doing this the wrong way. We don't want to use the default children. We want to use the root component children. What are you trying to... Oh, I hate that. True. And... Oh, this is different than what I remember. I know, T array actor. Believe this is what's going to work. No. Because you were expecting scene components. No, okay. Oh, maybe. It's been a while since I've looked at any of this. Okay, so I believe that's it. What we're wanting to do is look at the root component and everything that's attached to it. And right now you have to take my word for it, and hell, I'm probably wrong, just with how messed up I had that right there. But what it's going to do is look for any of these components that are attached to it. Now, some of the other things we need to do is regarding the building interior volume. So we're going to create default sub-object, use static mesh component, text, interior volume. Now, we want to set the collision on this to collision enabled query only. And that's just going to trigger things like overlap events. So now hit the build command. On component begin overlap. We're going to want to add a begin overlap and an end overlap. And actually the other thing we're going to want to add is an array, T array class TF actor, actors inside. And then, let's see, overlap events. Oh, we'll use our heat source. We added those. So I'm going to copy these two quick and then rename them once we get back into our header file. Oh. And actually it's ATF character I want, not actor. So I'm going to rename those instead of on heat zone to on interior zone. Overlap begin and overlap end. Let's quickly define those. So, building interior volume on component begin overlap dot add dynamic. This ATF building base on interior zone overlap begin. And that needs to be a reference if I remember correctly. Oh, my brain is not wanting to work. The references. Yes, this and then a reference to the function. And we want to do the same thing for the end overlap on component end overlap dot add dynamic. This reference to ATF building base on interior overlap end. And what this is doing is we're going to be going through and basically adding any TF character that walks into the building to our list, and any character that leaves the building, we're going to be removing it from the list. And there's a reason for that. So which I think would actually in here public void set parent const ATF building const class ATF building base pointer parent. I'm just adding this because it's a function we're going to need in our building base. So in here, child set parent this. And the reason for that is within our exteriors, like our windows and doors, when a character opens them and closes them, we want to notify the building. And that's the reason for this. So this is one of those ones you need to be very careful with. Could potentially be a cyclical include, but yeah, it gets a little complicated. But as we move through, I'll explain it as we go. But anyways, so with that, we now need to deal with our other actor. Well, we do have, just save this quickly. We do have all of that already. The logic we need there set up here. So I'm going to grab this. In our heat source. And this is where a lot of this stuff is going to end up coming from. You're like, oh, I wrote very similar code for that in this class over here. I'm going to change it to here. So all we need to do is actors inside. And change actors in range. I realized I was in the wrong folder. Wrong file. And rinse and repeat the same thing here. Actors inside. Instead of add unique, we want remove. Now you'll notice we don't have anything in here for our character. So we're going to grab that. Let's throw that in here as well, because we are going to be calling through to, well, the stat line ultimately. But we need, speaking of, I'm going to throw that in here as well. All right, so get rid of the stat line, the character, heat source, we're good there. Randomize actors, don't need that. Building opening we want, building base, get rid of the inventory component. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep my workspace organized. Now there is some other things we need to do though with our building interior volume. Sorry, I am bouncing all over the place, mainly because I'm thinking of things. This particular one, I'm pretty much doing all of it on the fly. I don't have much in the way of notes. Be hidden in game equals true. We do not want that to be visible. It's literally going to be a mesh that we're using as a collision volume to register a character being inside and outside a building. So now we do need to extend some functions here to deal with the interior, like sealedness. I'm trying to think how weather tight the interior is. So we need a float. Actually, putting this in the wrong place for a start. I want to do it up here for my organization. But U property, visible anywhere. Blueprint, read only. And actually, I can just grab this one here. Float current seal state equals 0. Float seal value per portal equals 0. And then we want a public function down here, void recalc seal. And there's a reason. This is when it's going to determine if the building's closed, if all the windows are open, closed, things like that. Okay. So current seal state is 0. Seal value per portal, that is what we're going to do here as part of begin play. What we're going to do, and this is going to be set every time. Actually, no, we can do it here in part of construction. Seal value per portal equals 1 divided by exterior openings dot num. And basically what that is that's a percentile value. And again, I'm just using this as generic. Yes, you could have like big double doors or big, huge window, but every portal is going to be for the purpose of my code, every portal is going to be counting equally the same. So what we're going to do here, over in our building opening, we're going to add a bool is closed. Actually, no, get is closed. And that's going to be a const. And then we're going to go back to our building base. Sorry, and these are ones, I do apologize for the bouncing back and forth, but these two need to be done at the same time. So it's a bit of a complex mess, I found. So we're going to go to our recalc seal. So it's going to be for const auto p and exterior openings, no, portal. No, was it current seal state equals 0 if portal get is open, get is closed, sorry. Current seal state plus equals seal value per portal. And then right at the end, I'm just going to go current seal state equals fmath clamp. And this is just to protect against rounding errors. So there we go. So what we're doing here is we're going through and it's like, okay, we're checking every door, every window that's an exterior portal. And if it's open, we're not going to do anything. If it's closed, we're going to increment our seal state. Well, with our seal state, what do we need? Well, I want to basically just have an insulation value. And that's going to be like a float value from, what did we have for our body temp actually? What was our, I think there was up to 100. Yeah, it was a percentile. 0 to 100, 0 to 1. So yeah, that would be up to 100. Yeah, okay. So, oh, what is the clamp meta? UE5 C++ float clamp meta. I don't do this that often. The min max, clamp min, clamp max. Is that it? Property clamp min. Yeah, okay, that is it. It doesn't matter. Clamp min equals 0. Clamp max equals 100. Actually, no, 50. Because the way I'm going to treat this is this value is something that can be set per building. Because obviously you can have things like really flimsy shacks aren't going to have much in the way of insulation, but you could have like solidly constructed buildings that are intended to, say, weather out a blizzard. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, that are going to have really good. And we want this to have a max value of 50 and a min value of 0. So what we're also going to want to do now, and this is unfortunate, we're expanding things back and forth. We're going to want to go to our statline component header. We are going to want to expose a public function. And I'm going to make this blueprint callable as well. Void adjust building insulation. Const float amount. And in our temperature section here, we're going to add in a new variable, float building insulation. Create that definition and building insulation plus equals amount. I'm not worried about clamping this one because actually no, we do want it because we don't want that to be outside of bounds. So building insulation equals fmath clamp building insulation plus amount 0, and again we want to have a cap of 50. So can never go below 0, never go above 50. We are going to adjust it up here at a later point, probably next episode. I just want to try and get the main code functioning here. So now that we've done that, actually no, we don't want that adjust because you're only ever going to be in one building at a time. So we don't want that to be adjust. We want it to be set. Sorry. So I'm going to go here and get rid of that one. I'm going to rename this to set building insulation. Because I was thinking you're only ever going to be inside one building at a time. So building insulation equals amount. And there's a reason for this. So save everything here because I was just thinking with the next line of code I realized what we're going to do here is on interior zone begin overlap, we're going to go as tf character get stat set building insulation. I mistyped that. Building insulation value. Building insulation value times by current seal. Current seal. Apparently my keyboard is not responding. And then we want to do the same thing here. Oh, I didn't copy all of it, except this one. It's easy. We're setting it to 0. I'm going to copy this point here. Recalc. So we've got that. And now what we want to do is for const auto care, and they are actors inside. Actors inside. So what this is doing is, and I'll just walk through this. So on construction, this is something that's done in Editor. And as you're moving around placing in the world, it's going to recalculate this. It's going to see how many of my children, or how many of that actor's child components are exterior openings. If it is an exterior opening, we're going to add it to our list, and we're going to say set parent. We're going to calculate our seal value per portal. Basically, it's 1 divided by that to get a percentile per. So like a door is worth 0.1 or 0.25 if there's 4, if there's 10 it's 0.1, so on and so forth. And that's why there was the clamps in there, because of the rounding error. If a character enters inside of its interior zone, we're going to tell its stat line, okay, you're in a building with this updated insulation value. We are then, when the character leaves, we're going to say, okay, you're now left the building, you don't have an insulation value. And then say the player opens a window while we need to recalculate it. We're going to recalculate this. Now, I'm also using a catch-all insulation value. This here, that is for both heat and cold. If you want to be more expansive, and I may change this later on, you could have a building heat insulation and a building cold insulation. Further down the line, I may do that. I'm not 100% sure. But anyways, before we go too far, I'm going to build the project. So just making sure OBS was still recording. I had this momentary panic. I just spent the last 20 minutes talking to myself. So we're going to let this build. Now this, I have a feeling there's going to be errors here, but just to go through, we have obviously a reference to our interior volume. We have our exterior openings. We have the actors that are inside. Now the interior volume is default editable, which means you can change it in the blueprint. Exterior openings and actors inside you can't change anywhere. You can only see them. Current seal state is visible anywhere. Seal value per portal is visible anywhere, and that's because those are both dynamically calculated as needed. The building insulation value, that is edit defaults only, which means you can edit in the blueprint, not at runtime or anywhere else, like in the level. We obviously have our functions for our overlap and begin overlap and end overlap for our interior volume. Our on construction, our constructor, and our void recalc seal. Once this is done, why is it? What did I update that's updated consumable item? Stat line component. Yeah, sorry, we added that into the stat line. So actually that built with no issue. So now what we need to do, we need to go to our building openings. And we're just going to get a couple of things done in here quickly. So TF factor, I want to double check that's save, right? Yes, so we do need to add our interaction interface. So I'm going to grab our door base because I know it's there. I'm going to go to our building opening and extend that. And our interaction interface. And we're going to grab our 3 overrides for that as well. Now, this is basically going to be treated the exact same way as our door. So actually, I'm going to grab that as well. So interact implementation, what we're going to want to do here is we need to call parent. Oh, no, do we have that in there? No, we need to add that, sorry, before I forget. We need to add the header to our opening source file as an include. Actually, I'm going to also make this visible anywhere. And we need to add our TF building base parent. So on our interact implementation, it's going to be parent recalc seal. But what we want to do before that is execute interact. No. What did we do in the door? Oh, no, we did. No, I'm trying to think how to do that. Okay, I'm going to just do this. Let's copy. That is our get interact text. And is interactable. So, okay, we're going to build things here quick, and then we're going to hop into the editor. I am actually going to pause the video here because I do need to track down some building meshes. So I'm going to let this build. I'm going to transfer over some files into my project, and as soon as I have all of that done, I'll be back with the video. Oh, no, we have a build error here. Oh, it hides a parent class. Yeah, okay. Building parent. Okay, let's see if that fixes. So, yeah, so I do apologize. I know this episode has been all over the place for, no, what it failed this time. Building opening on 9. My force of habit of using constant for anything that we're not going to be making any changes to constantly bites me in the butt. Because, yeah, that's a bad habit of mine. Well, I wouldn't say a bad habit. It's a good habit. That just unfortunately doesn't work with Unreal coding. If you're passing in a variable that you do not want to ever to be able to make changes to the variable itself, it's a constant. So, anyways, as I was saying, this is built. I'm going to launch the editor. Well, actually, I'm going to port over some building mesh and some doors and windows, make sure I've got everything there. And then I will be back once I'm in the editor with all those things loaded. Okay, folks, so we are back in the editor. I ported over just a very basic storefront that we can test out with this. So what we're going to do, obviously, project files, project blueprints in our dev, blueprint class, building, TF building base, dev building test, And we're going to do the same thing, building opening, dev exterior door, we've got two different ones here, so I'm going to put O1 test, actually no, door test O1. And the reason for naming it that way is you can go right click, duplicate, and it'll change it to O2, but we don't want to do that just yet. So I'm going to delete the second one. We're going to save these quickly. And now we're going to open up our building. Oh, and we have an editor exception. And that's why we saved. So we're going to stop there. Building, interior, volume, setup attachment, root component. And down here we need if C is valid, C. And if exterior openings dot num does not equal 0. I think that's actually what the issue was here. So let's get rid of this with a comment. Okay, let's try this again. Yeah, I think we had a divide by 0 error there. So and if this fixes it, what you'd want to put is else. Actually, don't need that. Else we can just put up the start here as well. Actually, we're going to reset that, but we're not worried about that for now. So back in the editor, let's go to our blueprint. Let's try and open the building this time. There we go. It opened fine, no errors. Open full blueprint editor. So I'm going to grab those mesh and drag that in. Go to our viewport and you can see the mesh is there. It's going to take a while to load. And for this one, because it is just that is not what I expected. We do need to add a building, that primary static mesh. So I'm going to compile and save this just because that's got what we want there. Close out of this, close out of the editor. We're going to duplicate this here. And we're going to name the main one building and then building interior volume. In our constructor here, we're going to building equals create default subobject, use static mesh component, text primary building mesh. And then instead of attaching this to the root component, we want to attach it to the building component. So let's try this again. And this time it's going to take forever to build. So I'm going to pause and I'll be back as soon as we're back in the editor. No, I say that and it starts doing its final compilation. That is typical. And I hadn't saved that, so I've got a concern that that's not actually going to apply. Oh. Let's go back to our... Come on. Open up our blueprint, open up a full blueprint editor. So we're going to get rid of you. And we're going to set this to be that mesh. Okay, and then there we go. So roughly in the center, extend you too far that way. Now you don't want this to be perfectly in the middle, perfectly on the edge, because you're never you want to have some gap between this and the edge. So do this and pull you up, pull you over. That's a little too far from the front, but perspective top, wireframe. All right. Do that, and then let's see if that actually works. Okay, you're saved. I'm gonna throw you over here. Turn you around. Nope, I don't want X, Y. And then let's see, can we actually run in, or is that going to explode? Right, so what we're going to do here is on our begin overlap, we're going to put a breakpoint on the those. I don't think they're going to hit though, because I saved it after I hit build. So now can we go all the way in? No, we can't. The collision channel is incorrect. So let's have a look at our blueprint here. So that we changed it to overlap only pawn. I thought that was... I didn't change the right one, did I? Okay, now you're going to let me walk in? Yeah, okay. Generate overlap events. Okay, so now we've got that. Let's go store... Oh no, building. If I could type. So we have 0 exterior openings and 0 actors inside. Current serial state is obviously 0. Actors inside, you can see that increased to 1. It's the third person character. And again, I've got to figure out how to ignore the interaction volume, because that is what's triggering it there. You can see we're here, and the interaction volume around our player character is triggering it. So that has got our basic setup there. So now the next thing we're going to want to do is create our door. So I'm going to pull that over, open full blueprint editor. Obviously there's nothing in here. I'm going to go grab those mesh, and I'm going to grab the solid metal door I pulled over just for the sake of this. is open. I didn't set that up, did I? Yeah, we need to change that. So return not B is open. But anyway, so we've got that there. Now what we do though, we close out of this blueprint. And this one's going to be a little awkward to do. Going to open the storefront. Come on, maximize for me. Why is my editor so unresponsive today? And then I'm going to drag this in and drop it into the scene. Now you can see it's here. Well, it's not letting me edit it. There we go, how to compile it. So now I'm going to just drag this towards the back of the store here where this door is, or door frame is, obviously. It's not a perfect fit. This is meant to have a door frame to go with it, but I didn't grab one. I just grabbed the actual door, so we're gonna put that in there. I'm gonna duplicate this. The original is still at the back, and I'm going to bring you forward. Put you there, but I'm going to actually just do this for the sake of this particular test, because I want to just wrap this up before the end of the episode. So as you can see in here, we have 2 exterior doors. So over here you can see nothing. Let's see, did this actually work? No, it didn't. Okay, why did that not work? On construct. And we're not hitting that breakpoint. So we're going to save everything. We're going to close out of the editor. Maybe that's not the right one. Actually, we can do this. Building. No, we want root component. Thinking about it. Root component. Get attached children. Get the scene components. Maybe that is the one we want, because we want all descendants. Let's go. This is just a debug statement I'm putting here. Well, I wouldn't really call it a debug statement. It's a debug catch. Copy that. Okay, so let's try this again. We'll build. Hopefully this shouldn't take too long, because we only made some code changes within the source file for the building base. Oh, build error. Children hides class member. On 70, that is the duplicate. Oh, local children. Actually, for auto ch children. And this is going to fail anyways, because I didn't fix this. So Okay, so this is all debug because honestly I haven't done this particular type of logic before, so we'll try this again, see if this breaks. Well, got further than it did last time. There we go. Alright, so that is working. So the whole purpose for this is, like I said, we're trying to calculate how many doors and windows the building has at editor time, because then that way we don't have to worry about it. Okay, local children 9. Okay, local children gets us what we need, so that is right. Okay, so it is local children we want. So get rid of this, grab you, get rid of this, paste that in, and we need to name this local children. Okay, so now that we've figured that out, that's good to know that it's get children components on the root component. And yeah, that's what made me think that, because of this true, which is include all descendants, and that's what you want. You basically want it to be recursive. Is recursive? You want it to include every single item that is in the blueprint so that it looks at all of them. So this should give us an exterior opening of 2 now. So we're going to go local children has 9. Interior volume, exterior door, exterior default, billboard, door metal. Oh, that might give us 2 because we have 2 different. Didn't give us anything. Those 2. Okay, I might have to move this into next episode. Yeah, it's not seeing those as ATF building opening, which is what they are. So if we go look at this, okay, I'm going to have to do something here. Trigger this. Okay, that is the interior volume. Yeah, something is off there. So I'm probably going to have to figure that out next episode, because we're already well over an hour. Well, 5 minutes over an hour here. But this is the start, so I'll... Obviously, this isn't working exactly as I expected it to. That is sort of the downside of doing these sort of things on the fly with very little planning. So if we go here, building, you can see actors inside 0. We now have an actor inside. We're hitting these breakpoints. We continue those. If we look at our character and go to our... Oh no, because our stat line, it's going to be 0. But building insulation is in there as well. So. But yeah, with that, folks, I'm going to end this episode here. Not as complete as I wanted it to be. There's obviously a lot more that we need to do still. The building itself is working, but the getting the children or child and going, is this an exterior door actor? isn't. Actually, there's one other thing I want to check here. So I'm going to save that just for that rotation. If child static class equal to ATF building opening static class. And again, this is just some debug code to try and see. So let's just test this. So we know, like, this fires at editor startup. So because the construction logic is called when the editor starts up to generate the blueprint, it's treated as a on construct. So, and then it's also called every time the actor is moved around in the world, scaled, rotated, anything like that. So, okay. So child is the interior volume. Okay, why is that? Okay, where is it in here? It's the dev exterior door test, which is exactly what we want. U-actor component. Where in here? U object. Okay, well, either way, this is going to take me a bit to figure out what's going on here. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time between episodes just doing a little more digging. And then I will cover that in the start of next episode. But as always, folks, thank you for watching. If there's any comments, questions, suggestions, concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.